Hey gang, it's Deltia from DeltiusGaming.com. You notice I have my thermals on today. It's freezing in good old Nebraska, but I had to get this video out on Stage 1 of Dragonstar Arena. Just a basic introduction guide on the enemies, the mechanics, and kind of a gameplay of how we got it done in Veteran mode. It's not too bad, one of the easier ones in the dungeon, as there's not a whole lot of mechanics. Really, it's just a lot of tanking, pointing the enemies away, doing high damage, high healing, and getting through it. So hopefully you need this information. I'm going to go through each stage, chronological order obviously. So stage 1, probably the easiest one, but a really fun one, the DPS tank or healing. So let's get started in the Fighters Guild Stage 1 of Veteran Dragonstar Arena. Alright, so here we are, Veteran Dragonstar Arena, Round 1. This is the Fighters Guild. Upon entering, you'll notice some spikes on the ground, probably not good for you to stand in, really good for the enemy to stand in as they take a little bit of damage. So you're going to get a few rounds here, 5 rounds, not too difficult, it's the easiest of all of them. But we're going to talk about enemies, we're going to talk about abilities, roles and responsibilities, and you can watch this gameplay and see how we do it. Alright, so some enemies. I'm just going to go through, and as they appear, you'll see what I'm talking about. Number 1, you got Fighters Guild Sorcerers, so the guy I'm pulling in right now. These guys aren't too difficult. They do cast a lot of, big hitting abilities. So what we do is we pull them in with a bunch of Dragoknights. If you don't have a Dragonknight, it's okay. Just focus them down at range, and you'll do just fine. Another enemy is the Fighter Guild Berserker, about 10,000 HP. These guys are just basically melee cannon fodder that Rambo in. Just the tank needs to get on them, interrupt them, and I'm playing my Dragonknight tank right now, so that's my responsibility. Fighters Guild Templars, these are the healers at range. Another just simple pull them in, get them nuked down, and then lastly we have the Sword Master, which is the guy I'm fighting right now. He's what's called the Bannerman, if you see his banner on top of his head. So that guy's kind of like a mini boss, about 20,000 HP or so. Not too difficult. And then you have the Gladiator, which is 27,000 HP, and they do a lot more damage. They also are equipped with Fighters Guild abilities, which makes it kind of interesting and fun. So some of them, Silver Shards, which every vampire knows, and they also have an AoE healing circle or Ring of Preservation. So you're going to have to pull them out of that, and we'll talk more about that. Lastly, the boss, which I'm going to go over in detail once that round starts. So general strategies, if you see what we're doing, it's really going to depend on your group composition. Right now we're rocking 3 Dragoknights and a Templar healer, which I love. We all have extended chains, the Ardent Flame ability, and we're just pulling everything in stack and whack. As my job as the tank, my job is really to make sure that healing circle, people are coming out of it, and then also I'm pointing enemies away to avoid that cleave right there. And bash and basically stun and do what I can to make the life frustrating for the other people. Do damage what I can, but that's not really my primary responsibility. It's always just facing people away, picking up the melee. The DPS is going to have to worry about the casters. My goal is to pick up melee and prevent them from nuking everyone in the round. Okay, so we're on round 3. Round 1, basic introduction. Round 2, another pretty much introduction with a couple bannermen. Round 3 starts to get interesting with a few different spawns, and it starts with 2 bannermen. So it's imperative that the tank really pick up these 2 bannermen while the other guys focus on the casters. What we do right here, drop 1,000,000 standards, 1,000,000 ultimates, and make it look easy. So if you can, prepare to have a ulti dump, or what we call it, and just nuke everything down. You can also change them out of the healing circle. So if they do cast that little healing circle, the Bannerman, you can change them out or stun them, but don't let them sit in it, because that will heal them to full, and it'll heal any enemy in that area. So really what I'm trying to do is prevent my enemies from getting cleaved, or my allies from getting cleaved, by pointing the enemies away. That's really your primary job as a tank. Your primary job as a damage dealer is to essentially either chains in enemies or nuke down casters. Leave the melee for last, because really the tank can take 5 or 6 enemies at a time. The biggest threat here is the healers, the sorcerers, that type of thing. And then as you see, I probably didn't pick up the melee fast enough and someone died. So that's my fault. I was focusing on the sorc, not doing my job. So stick to doing your job. It is imperative. Otherwise we took an early stupid death, and that's really my fault as a tank. So I get caught up in trying to be a DPS hero too. Just keep in mind, you're a tank. Your job is to take care of melee, not chains in everyone. That's really the DPS's responsibility. So healing this isn't too hard. Actually, if you just have some good area heals like Healing Springs, or you have the Templar's Breath of Life, you can easily heal this thing with no problem. If you're not using a Templar heal, it's going to be tough, but I would use Healing Ward on low HP enemies. We almost always run a Templar healer just because it's so advantageous at the moment in the game, but you can do it with other people. This is veteran mode that we're running, so you can see their HP and whatnot is going to be reflected on that. So healing, also you can do some damage here as a healer. You can really pump out damage. Like right now, there's no one to heal essentially except me or Mr. T, and I can heal myself. So if you can, you'll see our healer, he's doing a lot of crushing shockwaves, doing damage. Remember, damage is what kills and gets you the next round, not healing. So when in doubt, if everyone's 100%, go heal. Okay, last round here is the boss round. So it's going to be chaotic at first. I'd recommend using defensive ultimates, Veil of Blades, Novas, whatever you got to prevent a lot of incoming damage, because the boss will spawn along with a bunch of different buddies here. So as you can see me, I'm trying to range taunt everything that I can just to prevent some damage on my guys. But really I need to be concerned with the melee. Now I got him positioned right there, and I want to keep him away from the group, angled away from the group. I'm not doing a very good job of it. That's why. That ability right there is Dawnbreaker. So that's going to one-shot basically your team if it's not facing the right way. So when I say facing, you notice the boss is not facing any of my allies. So if he does an AoE big huge damage ability in front, it's not going to kill my entire group. So that's what you can work on as a tank. And if you're a DPS, make sure that you're facing the right way as well. The boss is the only thing that cannot be changed or CC'd in this entire stage, so you can't really pull them out of the healing circle. You're just going to have to taunt and move back. Dropping a lot of defensive ultis here. The fight isn't too hard. You really just need to stay blocking as a tank. The DPS needs to basically AoE clump up and or communicate. We're all in TeamSpeak here, and part of the reason we're successful is, hey, I need help. Hey, you need to get this guy. Hey, you need to talk. It's okay. It's okay to tell each other, you know what, we need to work on. An early death, that was my fault, and we said, you know, hey, you need to taunt these guys early. That's okay. Take criticism because it's worth it in the end, and you get a lot better. So I'd recommend always being in TeamSpeak. If you can't, that's your own thing. It's going to be hard to beat veteran without being in TeamSpeak, though you can do normal. So pulling him out of the healing circle, just conning, kind of kiting here, doing damage when I can, and keeping the melee on me. With both of them pointed at me, the DPS can really focus on their job and just nuking from range and then preventing any of that damage. So the melee gets away from me. It's okay. I'll taunt him and chains him. Then you sidestep that AoE cleave, or you can just block through it, and if you have all the tank gear on, it's no problem. But really after you get those adds down after a couple cycles, then it's easy mode right there. So the best thing you can do prior to this fight is prepare for it. Get ready with ultimates, whether you're charging ultimates with healing springs out of combat or whatever you can. That's what's going to help you prepare for this fight. So in essence, make sure you're doing your job. Be a tank, be a healer, be a DPS. I got caught up one time and it caused an early death. So don't be me, essentially in this case. So what did you think? That was stage 1. I like it. A nice early introduction getting to Veteran Dragonstar Arena. We had one death, of course, because I got caught up in being a Rambo hero, but don't be doing that. Really stick to your job. It's the best thing that I've learned throughout this whole experience is be a tank, be a healer, be a DPS, and be effective at it. Do your job. Everything will come together, and talk. Do after action reports, just like I was in the military. Why did you die? Let's honestly, say you didn't taunt the guy. Okay, well I can take that and move on with it. That's only going to strengthen you and get you better as a team. So work on it with the same people and be open and honest with you guys, on your feedback. Did I die? Don't make it personal, but if you need to work on things, that's the only way we've gotten through Veteran DSA is openly communicate, how are we working on it. So hopefully this guide shows you kind of how to do it, what you're going to encounter, and get in there and try it. You can sit around and brainstorm about beating Dragonstar Arena, or you can get in there and do it. I'll keep on putting out these guides, and hopefully you can get that sweet Boethius Scythe title. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, share your video, follow me on Twitter, or visit my website.